Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in this world, and welcome to episode 5 of StarFlower Journals. Now, my name's Kerry, as you know, and I am the host of StarFlower Journals. And tonight I have a special and beautiful guest with me, Gina. Hello, Gina.
Hello, Carrie. How are you?
I'm good. So Gina
Yeah.
has agreed to come on and speak about her journey and her path and share her beautiful words of wisdom and perspectives as she's gone along her journey and maybe also tools, Gina, that you kind of found along your path and you kind of made your
Sure.
own and yeah. So let's begin. Gina, do you want to maybe talk about a little bit about yourself just now and introduce who you are to the world? The world is
Yes, I would love to introduce myself. My name's Gina. The last name's really long. It's Splettstazer. It's very German.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I don't what do you want me to talk about? You want me to talk about my journey?
Yeah, maybe talk about what it is that you're doing at this moment in time and,
Hmm.
where you are in terms of your services. If you like, what are you,
Sure.
because I know that you've got your own YouTube channel. So maybe if you want to talk about that and maybe talk about like what you're doing with that and how you're helping like others and where you're going,
Okay.
certain things, and then we'll kind of bridge into your actual journey as such.
Excellent. Well, let's see. I kind of had a spontaneous kundalini awakening thing that happened to me back in, I would say 2008. But, that it was a very dramatic time for me, and I didn't really understand what had happened. So I kind of just put it in the mental closet and didn't really know what to do with it. So I kind of shut it away. And um, I was a big workaholic. I worked all the time. That's pretty much how I kind of compartmentalized everything. And I started to get these physical symptoms. I would get migraines. I started getting my chronic migraines every day. And I got an MRI. I was taking all sorts of medications. No, the doctors couldn't really figure out what was going on. And it really took a huge toll on on everything, on my life. So, along with some other physical symptoms, yeah, I had carpal tunnel, it's just wearing away my body with my job. It was very physical. I eventually got the idea from somewhere to maybe try Reiki. And so, because I had exhausted all other avenues really. And so I found this woman online and I started working with her. And after about the third session, um, I was going to bed, and as I was falling asleep, my root chakra kind of exploded. And it scared me so bad. I woke up out of like a, half sleep with this like buzzing weird. It felt like I sat on some sort of battery or something. Like my whole body kind of exploded and I could actually hear it in my mind. It went and it woke me up and I was like, what the heck is going on? And that happened for about a good week. Anytime I would try to go to sleep, I would have this like kind of chakra explosion as my chakras were opening up and clearing out. And that was my first clair was clairsentience. And so I started to be able to feel energy and yeah. So after a few more years, I've had a ton of other experiences. I decided to, well, I know I'm a healer. I know that's why I'm here primarily and for, grid work and whatnot. Um, so I eventually decided to start a YouTube channel and start a healing practice. And so it's
Oh.
super new. The healing practice is super new, and I'm still experimenting with how to promote myself because I've never done that before. I've never even thought about the concept of promoting myself. So yeah, so I have a healing modality that's kind of my own. It's very different from, channeling Reiki energy or anything like that. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm starting up my business, and it's so strange to say the words my business. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But
so yeah.
it's beautiful that it's got to that point.
Hmm.
So would you say, like for instance, first question is, can you maybe explain what a kundalini, in your perspective, a kundalini awakening actually is? Because there may be beautiful souls out there at this
Oh,
moment in
okay.
time that may be watching it
Yeah.
and go, what's she talking about? Like, what's a kundalini awakening? She said her root chakra exploded. Like, what's that? If you know what I mean. So can you maybe explain
Yeah.
a little bit, like from your perspective, what that felt
Yeah.
like like that root chakra, what that actually was? Like, how did you feel
Sure.
afterwards? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the initial event that happened back in, I would say, what was it, 2008, I was going through a very, very traumatic time in my life. There was just a ton of stressors going on. And I mean, first off, there are different types of Kundalini awakenings, right? Like there's
Mhm.
the energy type where it's just like you feel this like kind of like this surging volcano of energy coming up through your body, and then all of a sudden you have all of these insights. Like I've heard many different stories, like with our friend Rion. All of a sudden he just woke up one day and he could see everything, like all different dimensions, and all of his guides were standing in front of him and he could just see it. But for me, it was I woke up one morning, and like I said, I was under a tremendous amount of stress, and all of a sudden I could hear all of these voices, and and I could hear them as my roommates talking, but I was in a room by myself, and I went throughout the house. I couldn't find, there was no one there in the house, but I kept hearing my roommates talking, and I kept hearing all of these voices. And then I started seeing people that were not physically there, and it was really disturbing. It was very disturbing, and I ended up just kind of I don't know how I did it, but I kind of just ended up shutting it down.
Yeah.
And so I was having all of these different sensory sort of experiences, but yeah, it was so overwhelming. I don't know how it happened, but it lasted for a few weeks.
Mhm.
And I think like honestly, just through sheer willpower, I was able to shut it off and just be like, I can't handle this. This
Mhm.
is crazy. This is what crazy people go through. And so that in itself was super traumatic. Like
Mhm.
I feel like for probably everyone who goes through a metaphysical awakening event or whatever you want to call it, it is traumatic. It's traumatic because you don't understand what's going on, and also because it's so different from what others around you are experiencing. So
Yeah.
you don't really know how to communicate it. You
Mhm.
don't know how to verbalize what's happening without your family thinking that you're insane, or, especially if you have in your family a history of like mental health issues, which on my mother's side, there's a big history. So I already had that ingrained in my psyche, like anything that's not what the rest of the collective experiences is automatically crazy. So yeah, so that was very, it was traumatic. And so I did shut it off and I went about my way. I just started working, 10, 12, 14 hours a day every day. And that's all I did. So until all of these like physical things started to manifest.
Okay.
And it really was that sort of that metaphysical two by four over the head. It was just like, you're not listening. You're like, I feel like I was probably the most hard-headed person as far as that stuff goes, because I did kind of secretly believe in all that stuff, but I knew that it was not okay to talk about, at least like with my distortions and my programming, it was like, don't, and my upbringing as well. It was pretty conservative. So it was like, don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it. Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
In a different way, I experienced that in life as well, like growing up, etc. Like it was almost like frowned upon. And it was almost
Hmm.
if you or you like did something out of the ordinary, it was almost like you were deemed the devil. And I remember
Yeah.
like like talking about certain things and certain particular members in my family were like, oh, she's the devil's child, where it was like, so that in itself suppressed me from talking about like my experiences or what I was experiencing. And it's all, it's like you
Hmm.
suppress it, you put it down, and you put it down to the very bottom so you could fit in with society, so you could feel normal. Because what is normal? You know what I mean? Like people deem, oh, you're not normal, but what is actually normal, Gina? So, like, what happened for me was I suppressed it down, and then it just, the universe kind of was like, you're not getting a choice in this. It's time to wake up. So, like,
Yep.
Kundalini awakening as such, for me, it was being like pulled out of the vessel, the human body, and seeing everything for what it actually was. So, for like, if you look at your experience and my experience, people go through like these things in many different ways and in many different terms. So, but what I figured out throughout my whole journey and my own journey and listening to other people's journey is the childhood. Your childhood has a lot to do with regards to where you are, the experiences you have in life, your outlook in life, the programming, like mindset, your education, like everything is designed, and from my perspective, to almost disconnect the self from who the self truly is. And it's almost like
Hmm.
for me, it was, I was getting depressed when I was a teenager. Like I was super depressed because I wasn't allowed to be who I truly was, if you know what I mean. Like,
Right.
I knew there was something more out there, but dare I talk about it? So it was a lot of suppression, and therefore I couldn't be who I was truly was. And it wasn't until I stepped into that space where, I went, do not bugger it. I'm just going to be who I am. If people like
Hmm.
me, and they don't like me, if they judge me, if they label me, then so be it. Because at the end of the day, I'm doing a disservice to myself by not allowing myself to be myself. So
Exactly.
when we look back at the childhood, it kind of sets the path for that journey.
Oh
So,
yeah.
would you like to explain or would you like to share your story, like your childhood story, and up until like your adulthood as such, to that
Oh
point
sure.
of Kundalini awakening? Would that be okay?
Yeah, of course. Let's see. So I remember you and I actually have a couple of experience like parallels as far as childhood stuff goes. Like when I was probably about 2 to 3, 2, 3, 4, around that age, I started seeing this being that would come into my room at night who looked exactly like E.T. from the movie E.T.
Mm,
And
mm-hmm.
this was yeah, for me, this was years before the movie came out. This must have been, I don't know, 1980, 1979 when this was happening. And I would see my buddy come into my room and he would talk to me and he would teach me how to float around the house, and I would
Wow.
float into my parents' room and look around and go outside and go in the woods and stuff, and it was great. It was great fun. And just I remember being in my backyard. I lived in this really wooded small rural town in Minnesota, and just interacting with all the different beings out there
Mm,
in, in the woods and the with the plants and the trees, and just I remember having this really strong connection. And then my parents got divorced. What was it? When I was about 4. And that was very traumatic. It was they were fighting intensely. They would just fight and scream at each other. And it was just like, I think that's when I got the like instinct to just make yourself as small as possible,
mm,
so that nobody could see you or hurt you or whatever that instinct was. But yeah, that was very traumatic. And then we moved into my grandparents' house, and there was a lot of like gross abuse and stuff going on with that family. Um and then also at the same time, my mom got diagnosed with being schizoaffective and bipolar. And she started having these episodes where she would have to be hospitalized. And my brothers and I had like social workers come, and we would go stay with them and go stay in like these like crisis nurseries and stuff. So it was a traumatic, probably 10 years, from 0 to 10. And after a while, she got evened out with her medications and stuff, and that sort of thing started happening less frequently. And I got into school, and just my initial instinct was to just the kids terrified me. I was scared of the kids. I
mm,
don't know why, but it was just like being with all these other children. I think it was like like stimulation, oversensory sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm trying to think here. But yeah, up until about 10, it was pretty tumultuous. And then once I got, started puberty and teenager years, I was so angry. And I
mm,
started listening to like angry music and hanging out with kids who smoked weed and, getting into trouble. And I just kind of disconnected from everything. It was just like not a very a very kind of nihilistic viewpoint. Just there's no God, there's no nothing, there's no point to being here. Who cares?
mm,
And I like lived in that world for a long time. I was playing music in bands and just drinking all the time and just having just a really high risk lifestyle pretty much all throughout my 20s. And yeah, I just didn't care about anything. I didn't honestly did not care about anything. All I wanted to do was just party and hook up with people, and like there was nothing else really. And then yeah, and then I had this initial kundalini experience when I was about 28, and that changed everything. But after a while, after a few months, it was so easy to just kind of slip back into it.
mm,
And I eventually got myself into rehab and went sober, and just kind of switched my focus onto work. And, I was in a relationship, but it was kind of just on autopilot. And I would just work and come home and watch movies. And I realized that I had been depressed pretty much my entire life, because it's like you shut yourself down, but then at the same time, it's this depressing feeling of like, oh, is this all there is? And it's like you shut it off yourself. You did it to yourself.
to yourself.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but you're like, God, I'm so like this sucks. Why am I even here? All I do is work, come home, eat a bunch of garbage, watch Netflix, and I'm checked out for my partner. And it's just like, and then that's when the physical stuff started happening. And it was like, oh my God, like what else? What else is going to happen to me? You know, it was such a victim mentality. But, but yeah, it's like, how many times do they have to like hit you upside the head with the 2x4 for you to finally pay attention? So
Mm.
yeah, I started finally working with this energy worker, this woman that I found online, and everything started opening up, and I started being able to feel energy from the earth and from the ethers, and start, you know, being able to feel other people's energies and energies of like houses and stuff. My the clairaudience and the clairvoyant stuff is still kind of, I wouldn't say shut down, but it's still kind of like in the back. It's not my, they're not my strongest clairs. But I mean, then again, it might have been the trauma from having that initial awakening that kind of like I shut it down.
Yeah.
So that could be it too. But but yeah, and then I started working on learning how to clear my energy, how like my chakras worked, how my meridians worked. I started getting like acupuncture to open stuff up. And then I started seeing light ships in my backyard. And that was a real shock. That was like a super shock. Like, I woke up one day and came outside. It was during the day, and I was in the middle of the city. I lived in Detroit at the time, and there was a big black triangle in my backyard in the air, just hovering above my house. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what the F is happening?" And
Ah,
and it's like trying to talk to your partner too. Like my wife is, she's so logical, such a logical like math, and she's a computer programmer, and she's
okay.
just, you know, she loves the concept of energy, and we love having like really good kind of metaphysical quantum conversations about how energy works. But I don't think, I don't know. I think she doesn't really know what she thinks at this point. But in the beginning, when this stuff started happening, I was terrified to tell her because I was like, she's going to think I'm crazy. She's going to think I'm this or that. She's going to want to divorce me.
Oh,
And yeah, I know. And so for a while, I felt like I was living this double life. Like I would go in my meditation room and like have all these experiences, this multidimensional awareness. And then I would, you know, come out of it, go downstairs and make dinner and just be like, what's up? Nothing. You know, just like it
yeah.
was so, yeah, it was so strange. And so finally I came to this kind of crisis moment almost where like I was just like, if I don't tell her this stuff is happening, like I'm doing myself a disservice. I'm lying to her by, you know, by omission. I just feel like like our relationship is kind of slipping away because of me, because I'm not being open. And so I finally told her, and she was so much better about it than what I thought. You know, like every time something new happens and I'm like, should I tell her? Is she gonna reject me? It never happens.
Yeah.
It's
Do,
always like, okay, that's okay.
but that seems to be like the human psyche. We always create this scenario in our head and we always like make it the
Yeah.
worst outcome. Like my experiences like through life, I was very partial to doing that. Maybe still am to a degree. I think we all do this at some point.
Hmm.
We always think that it's going to be the worst outcome, or that person's going to reject you and that person's going to abandon you, that person because of who you are.
Yep.
Like for relationships, for me, I was always scared of rejection and abandonment, and I'd go the shy and coy, and I'd hide and retreat
Yep.
and sit in a cave.
Big time. Me
Yeah,
too.
because of like I was scared of all of that. I was like well and
Yeah.
truly scared. But your story, like your childhood story up until that point, like wow, Gina, like you really
Oh yeah, I know.
you like that upbringing. But this is interesting because, as I mentioned on my podcast, I was talking about as we come back to this earth and the soul reincarnates, we choose certain experiences in life. We
Hmm.
choose that path. So, first of all, would you agree with that? Which I think you have.
Yes,
You've chosen that.
absolutely.
And would you like say, like, what's your perspective on that? Because for me, it's like when we choose these experiences in life, and some people may find that really difficult to understand or to listen to, that the things that's happened in their life, like their soul actually chose that for them to evolve and for them to grow. What would you say your perspective is regards to that?
I mean, absolutely. I get into discussions with Elena, with my wife, about like, is free will choice, is it a thing? Like, do we have free will? And my wife is like, I don't think we do. I don't think so. Not at all. And I'm like, I absolutely think we have free will choice, but there are guardrails. There is a blueprint, there's a plan. We make a plan before we come down here. And I think there's, a ton of wiggle room. I think we can go down the bumpy road or the straight road. And it's all dependent on our choices. But at the same time, I do feel like we definitely pick our families. Of course, we pick our divine complements, the people who come into our lives and we do tons of work with. Um, yeah. So I am really grateful for all of these early childhood experiences because I feel like I was telling you earlier, I feel like I took a really a really bumpy road for a reason. I feel like I am here to help people kind of come out of that darkness because I've been in it for so long. Like I know that. I'm like feeling it right now. I've I've been in a purging
Mhm.
process for a few days. So as we all have.
Yeah, the
But
endings are wild.
yeah, I know. Even before this episode, this talk, I was like, man, I am not feeling it today. I'm feeling kind of crummy. But then at the same time, I was like, that's the perfect time to have a discussion like this because we're not all sunshine and puppy rainbow farts all the time, you
No,
know?
no,
And when you put out that image, it's like
yeah,
lying to people. It's like it makes people feel like they shouldn't be having these challenges or struggles because when you're enlightened, everything's great. You're perfect. You're up on the cliff with your, gauzy clothing, doing light language, and everything's awesome. And it's not like that.
no, no.
It's
Oh my Lord, no. It's like what
yeah,
what's the hold on, I'm seeing something in my mind's eye to describe this. So it's almost like you are you're sitting there so happy eating like candy floss, but at the same time it's pissing the rain and you're shitting your pants. That's what
right.
that's what I got.
Yeah,
And
I
then
know. That's why.
but like that's what it's like. That's what it's
Yes.
like. It's
Well,
not.
that's why I kind of welcome coming on camera and talking about these experiences, especially when I'm in this like purging process right now, because it's like I don't want to mislead people into thinking that like consciousness and multidimensionality is this like plateau of peace and bliss because it's not. Your life, that's not what the point of life is. It's if you're not going through something, you're probably not going to be here for too long. You know what I mean? Like when your work is done, that's when you get to go. Like up until then, I feel like you're just in school until you're done. I don't think you get to just hang out here levitating on a lotus leaf and just having a blast. I feel like it's school until you're done. But
Yeah, cool. It's
but
like
yeah, like oh, go ahead.
yeah, it's like what I mentioned as well. It's like you come down here. This is like school as such. This is where like you choose to come down here for your soul evolution and for your soul
Masterclass.
your master class. And it's like and you'll have many lifetimes reincarnating until like you experience everything that your soul wants to experience. And that could be
Right.
like hundreds of times, and you can come back as female, male, an animal, an insect, a fungus. Like, it's fascinating when you
Hmm.
delve deep into that side of things. And I know there's beautiful souls out there that will be watching this and go, oh my God, like they're talking about light ships, they're talking about beings, they're talking about like reincarnation and fungus and oh my Lord, like what are they actually on? Like, are these girls high? Okay. Like some people would.
Well, I feel, but at the same time, it gives these people a little kind of mental bookmark. You know what I mean? Like I remember when I first started reading stuff like I don't know, like Lisa Renee's work. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but like the Voyage, like also Asha Dean, the Voyager's material. It's like very, very, very heady sort of metaphysical stuff where they explain just basically multi-universal principles.
Mhm.
And I remember trying to read that stuff in the beginning. Well, like Ascension Glossary. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I'm not.
Well, just Google Ascension Glossary and you'll love it. It's like an encyclopedia for consciousness. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, like reading these really, really esoteric, complicated theories and just it sounds like word salad to me. Like I felt like the information kind of kicks you out almost until you have the level of awareness that that you can understand it. You know what I mean? So it's like I would read these books and not understand what I was reading at all and just get frustrated and throw them against the wall and be like, whatever. But then a few years later, after I have different expansions and contractions and different, I cleared out enough stuff to where I open these books now and I'm like, holy crap, now I understand. Now I completely understand this. It's not even like on a logical level. It's like something clicks within you and your cells start buzzing and you
Mhm.
just you can't get enough of it because I feel like your consciousness really, really craves it. So
Mhm.
I do feel like the information kind of locks you out until you're ready for it. But yeah, it gives you a mental bookmark and you can be like, oh yeah, I remember some weird ass girls talking about bizarre stuff like this a couple of years ago on a podcast. And now I get it.
Now you
But
get it. Yeah. Because I
yeah.
remember, like, when I was first, like, woke up to absolutely everything, because, like, my teenage, I think it was my early 20s, I delved into, like, angels and oracles and love and light
Hmm.
and, and tarot and, that side of things. And 2020 was like a whole other curveball. It was like another awakening as such. It was like,
Oh,
whoa,
geez.
like there's energy,
It
there's
totally was.
vibration, there's like star beings, there's light ships, like oh my Lord, like it was a lot. It was a lot. There's
Yeah.
consciousness, there's awareness, there's self-connection, there's like it's vast. It's not just like angels and fluffiness and
Which
that's
is great. Angels are awesome. And I feel like these are kind of like what do you call it? Like entryways
hmm
for the human collective, like more acceptable ways. Because so many people have read the Bible and everybody knows what an angel is and it everybody knows what tarot cards are and I don't want to mention Ouija boards, but everybody knows what Ouija boards are, stuff like that.
hmm
Um, like those are more accessible. So you get into that sort of stuff on your first levels. But for me, I thought all that stuff was crap. I thought it was all just like snake oil salesmen and just I thought it was all fake. I was just like, no, this is garbage. I don't believe in any of it. And then I started seeing light ships in my backyard and they're communicating to me and like I'm feeling their energy and like I'm starting to see orbs
hmm
and yeah, it just progressed from there and I definitely changed my tune
hmm Oh
as
yeah.
far as
Oh
like
no, you change your tune. Oh, you change your tune. And there's like, we'll get to that point in a wee minute because I really would like to go into that because, I love this
Hmm.
type of thing. Like, I believe I'm very galactic, but I also believe I'm very elemental as well. And what do I
Oh
mean
yeah.
by that? Like, galactic is, the beings, the light ships, the planets, the history with regards to that. Like, my soul comes from various like universes, etc. No, I'm not nuts because I can feel somebody going, "Oh my God, she's bonkers." And then like the elemental side of me is the dragon side of me, the fae side of me, that, the druidry as such. That like I'm very connected to that, and like to be connected to all those different things, your soul has to like evolve and grow and reincarnate like so many times.
Hmm.
But like you said, like when you first awaken to this, you're like, well, load of shit. Like,
I know.
yeah, because you're like,
I
"What
know.
is-"
I
And
know.
then I remember like going through my YouTube feed, and I see this guy sitting in his backyard underneath a pyramid, and he was like going on and on and on. And I remember looking at him going, this guy's nuts. Like, God, what is he on about? Right? So fast forward 6 months later, I come across him again. It was Rion, right? I come
Hmm.
across him again. I'm like, oh, now I get it. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
totally.
like like I was saying, like the information locks you out because you're not there yet. And so it just sounds like a load of crap or like a bunch of word salad. You're like, I don't even I don't even understand what is going on right now in this
Yeah,
video. Yeah, I remember when I first saw his videos too, and I was like, I don't, what?
yeah,
Like that's all I could say was like, what? You're under some weird pyramid and you're talking about galactic aspects and
yeah.
yada yada, like whatever, man. And yeah, I turned it off for a while too. I
Mhm.
did the same thing and then I came back and I was like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, actually, okay, now I feel a connection.
Mm.
That's the thing though, like you come back to these people because they are part of our soul family. Like
Oh, yeah, like,
he's
absolutely.
definitely a soul family and like
Yeah,
that's why you can shut it off, but then in a few months it'll come back up and you're like, that guy,
yeah.
what was he talking about? I'm curious now, you
Like,
know?
even like Brother Alexander, like
Hmm.
when I first connected with Alexander, I was like, what is he
Me
on?
too.
I have no
Yep.
idea. Like, like I really it was like we were talking about multidimensionality and all the different fractals and all the different levels and the soul and what you're feeling and like astrology and tarot and the energy of that because he completely reads tarot in a different format and it's like fun
Yeah.
and like I find it
Yeah, he's all about the archetypes and the
yeah, yeah.
stories.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. So it's like, whoa. So there's many like different beautiful souls out there that, know so many different things. It does like
Hmm.
what for me, right? Now, this is just my opinion and this is just my perspective. When I was like literally in the aura and the chakras and the oracle, the cards, etc., that's all there was. There didn't seem to be an expansion beyond that. So when, I started connecting with Rion and with Brother Alexander and like Joanne,
Hmm.
um there's like this continual like it just gets fast and expansive and the consciousness grows and it grows and it grows and it'll forever grow and it'll forever evolve and it's almost like you go through life, right, and you step out of the pen a little bit and you see like, oh, there's more to life than just life. There's spirituality, there's auras, there's chakras. And then you kind of like step further out into that field and it's like, oh wow. It's like, oh, where's this been all my life? Like, what have we been told? Why
Hmm.
does nobody know about this? Why is everything so hidden? Why are we programmed in so many ways as such, like with regards to society and, you know, oh, like when you grow up, you must meet a man, you must get married, you must have two children, you must have a good job, you must be debt free, you must like, it's like, whoa, it's
Hmm.
so limiting for me
Well,
anyway.
yeah,
And I'm
I
not
mean,
saying
it's
there's anything
just,
wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. Like if people want that experience and enjoy that
it's
experience,
all valid.
oh yes, absolutely, because it's what works for them, right?
Right.
But for me, I never felt that that was the norm for me. I felt like there was more for me out there.
Hmm.
So I really struggled with the society paradigms and such. And then, oh, paradigm, sorry. And then when what society deems as normal, and I couldn't really fulfill that, like my relationship broke down and I was a single mom and I felt like I was a failure. Like I got
Hmm.
really depressed. And I wanted to stay in that relationship, which wasn't like a complete disservice to myself, but not only myself, like my partner at the time, because we were both miserable.
Hmm.
I wanted to stay in that because, oh, I'm pinging. I wanted to stay in that because because, I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to be seen as a failure.
Right.
Because, society would say, well, you've had kids with this guy and, it's broke down. And I never ever seen myself as being a single parent in, you know, for me, I was quite traditional and
Hmm.
as well, if you know what I mean. So society, in my opinion, now this is just my opinion, can put a lot of limitations on a person and on a soul.
Of course. Of
So
course. I mean, it's another level of the tribal consciousness. You
mhm,
know, it's just I feel like it's just one step away from um being in a cave with a bunch of your relatives and, gnawing on a bone. Like, there are so many rules and it's crazy. Like for me, I had a different experience because obviously I'm not a I'm not a heterosexual, person. And so I grew up kind of, well, I had this like enormous secret first of all, my whole childhood, because I knew from when I was very young. And it was a huge no-no in my family. We were very religious, very, very, very Catholic. And so yeah, it was just not, it wasn't talked about. And I knew it was a very shameful thing. And so I never talked about it. But at the same time, I was such a tomboy and I feel like I had some body dysmorphia
mhm,
as well going on. So it was like it was really I just stood out. I just stood out on all levels. Like I never felt like I fit in anywhere. So
mhm,
it was like this weird kind of open secret. Like my mom always knew I was a lesbian, but she was, just very ashamed of it and she would say stuff like I always wanted a girl and stuff really hurtful stuff like that. But she didn't know how to process anything.
mhm,
She was very very, she was a very troubled person. So, oh yeah, but getting back to like choosing your family and choosing your setups, choosing the different like goals in your life and like the big stuff that happens. I definitely feel like it's all there for a reason, and I'm so thankful that I went through those kind of more challenging periods, especially the addiction stuff. Oh my gosh. Like my best friend Corey last night, we
mhm,
were talking about my new job and like some of the different parallels and everything. And he was like, have you forgiven your addictions? And I was like, what? What are you talking about? He's like, it feels like you haven't fully forgiven them yet. And I thought about it and I was like, wow, yeah, you're right, because there's a ping. There's a parallel between some of the stuff that I see outwardly at this new job that I got and this period in time that I haven't fully processed. as far as like with karma and, you know, I need to clear that period in order to be able to progress. So I feel like that's why I'm in this job right now, is to kind of do more clearing. But yeah, having gratitude for the rough times is so important. It's so important because I felt like that I got off the phone with my buddy and I sat there and I thought and I felt into it and I did a lot of processing and I feel like something clicked within me and I was like, "Oh, yes. Yes, of course you need to have gratitude for these times." You
Mhm.
know, like the pandemic, for instance, so many people died and so many people were, I mean, all of us, I feel like, still have a level of PTSD from that period. But at the same time, look at the expansion that I experienced in those like few years. I've never experienced anything like that. The growth was enormous. And that's happened for so many people on this planet during that time that I feel like I have to, it's so weird saying it, but I have to have gratitude
Yeah,
towards it because
yeah.
it really helped to evolve consciousness for all of us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I 100% agree with you there, which brings
Hmm.
me on to the catalyst. Okay, so what do I mean by the catalyst? What I've experienced and what, listening to other people's journeys and their stories is that there's always this dark moment that kind of shifts that person into awakening as such for that soul growth and for that soul evolution. So if we look back at your journey, your childhood and your teenagehood, and then into your adulthood, like your young 20s, and where you are now, that Kundalini awakening that you had, was there a moment in time that you experienced some darkness? Was there trauma? Was there grief? Was there something going on when you had this Kundalini awakening? Or,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, okay. Would you like to share with everyone if you feel like what that actually
Sure.
is? Or,
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's, you have to put so much pressure on something before it breaks. You know what I mean? And so at during the during the period right before this first awakening that happened to me in I think 2006, 2007, somewhere along there, um, I was I had a ton of addictions running. I was in active addiction at the time, and I had reached out to my mom for help because and we were estranged, so it things had to be really bad to do that. So I was living in Seattle at the time. My mom was in Minneapolis. That's where I'm from. And I called her up and I was like, "Mom, I really need your help. Like, this is what's going on. I need your help." And she was married to some guy who was like fairly well off and she was doing pretty well for herself and, by her standards. And so she was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll buy you a ticket. You can come and we'll get you into some sort of rehab." And they flew me out to Minneapolis. And instead of getting me into a rehab program, they literally locked me in their basement for for a week. And I could have had seizures. I could have because I was really, really, really bad off. I could have had seizures, I could have died. And they just locked me in this basement. And their reasoning was they felt they could somehow do it themselves. They didn't want to pay for rehab. So I was in Minneapolis under false pretenses and I ran away from her house. We got into a huge fight and I just ran away, because it was like the biggest fight I've ever had with her. And so I ended up staying with some friends. I got a job, but I was living in Seattle. I had no idea what to do. I was like, I guess I'm just stuck here. I need to make some money before I can, get myself back to Seattle. And I was just drinking heavily, heavily, like so much, and just trying to kill all the pain, all the, everything that I was feeling at the time. And I had this long distance relationship with this woman. We had been together for a few years, and she came back to Minneapolis, and we ended up breaking up. And um, the next morning, that's when that happened, was when I started hearing all the voices and seeing people walking around. I feel like something had to just break within me so utterly
Mm,
that that's when everything broke open for me.
wide open. It was almost like
Yeah.
the field, the energy field as such, couldn't carry anything else. Like couldn't carry anymore.
No, it
Yeah.
was like I am so fucking done.
Yeah.
It's you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like my brain, my emotions, all of it, like it was just like stretched so thin that, it was just like an old rubber band. I just broke.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what happened. But it was necessary. That's what I needed. I needed to kind of get as rock bottom as I possibly could for this to happen. And I'm thankful for it.
Yeah. Like you said, it's that bad times, it's to be thankful that tower moments, that catalyst moments as such, the
Yeah,
bigger moments, whatever you want to label it as. And I experienced through my life some not so nice people like towards me, and I was quite traumatized by, various types of abuse. However, I'm thankful for that because and some people might be like, are you all there when you say you're thankful for your abuser? No, I
right.
am. Like, I truly am because it made me who I am. It showed me the resilience of who I am. It showed me my strengths. It also showed me my weaknesses, but it also allowed me to learn and connect in with everything that I am. Now, could I say at that moment in time that's how I felt? No. Like I was absolutely terrified. Like you, I ran away. I ran away
Hmm.
to like Edinburgh and I went to dance college and I threw myself into dance and it was exercise, 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 exercise every day because it was distracting me from, what actually happened. And I couldn't look at it. Now, I'm going to go on to another part of this journey. Like when we actually wake up to everything and we start doing the healing work, and we have to look at that side of things. We can sit here and go, oh yeah, this happened to me and blah blah blah, and and I got to this place and I evolved and I grew. However, there's work with regards to that, and this is what we mean, like myself and Gina mean that this journey is not all about rainbow farts and unicorns and sunshine gleaming fields. It's really about connecting into those really dark moments in your thought processes within that moment in time, in recognizing like the ugly truths with regards to what happened to you, but also heal from that and grow and see the different perspectives. Like I mentioned, for myself, it's like I could only see one perspective before I awoke, like before I was removed from the vessel, and I could only see one perspective. It was my perspective. Nobody else's perspective mattered. It was just all about me. And I was such a victim. And how could this happen to me? But
Hmm.
when you get
Yeah,
removed from that and you see the bigger picture, you see the bigger perspective. So the healing side of things, like, is that it's like you go into the deep, gnarly stuff and you face it head on, and it's painful. Like it's really painful to look at certain things that happen to you, and it's removing the victim of that, and it's seeing both perspectives, and it's
right.
seeing like if that person caused you harm and pain, it's why did they cause you harm and pain? Why, is it because they only knew what they knew at that moment in time, like they're on their path, and then you come into a place of, well, my soul chose this for my soul evolution and growth. So therefore, I can accept that and understand that, if you know what I mean. And then you kind of look at, well, where's my accountability? Where's my responsibility with that as well? So the healing side of this, the shadow work as such, when you go through, that's, sometimes what it's labeled as, or the dark night of the soul, or the purging, like Gina had mentioned before. You go through these like moments and times along this journey, meeting the shadow, the hidden power of dark side of human nature. Beautiful. Okay. Fascinating book. See, I would love to listen to more books, Gina, but my life, which I
You're a
create,
busy woman.
yeah, I'm a busy lady, right? I'm a busy lady. Sometimes I don't know like what I've done in a day because I'm that busy.
Right.
But you know, um, I would love to listen to that on Audible, so I might actually go look that up and
You should.
remind me because I'll leave the link in the description if anybody
Oh
wants
yeah.
to look into that book and delve into it.
Amazing, amazing book. Meeting the Shadow by Connie Zweig and Jeremiah Abrams.
Okay, and
Yeah, it's a wonderful book.
yeah.
Um, well, I mean, first off, I'm not advocating like the need for suffering of the human collective. I don't feel like the only way of being to achieve growth is through suffering. I do not believe that. I don't think we need that. But at the same time, friction and conflict is a good tool. It's a good tool for growth if you can see it, if you can see the lessons.
Yeah.
Like I don't believe all this conflict that we're having in the world needs to happen. I don't feel like that at all. But I also feel like we're at this level of consciousness in the collective right now where it's like this. I keep seeing this like the tower and then also like a flower at the same time. Like there's this like utter destruction going on, which I feel like some of it is very necessary as far as the like our governments and our societies. Like so much is so gross and needs to get dismantled. But at the same time, I can feel this level of awareness growing with people. So yeah, like I said, I'm not advocating for people to like suffer and to like perpetuate that sort of stereotype that you need to suffer in order to
Yeah.
grow, but it is a good tool. And as far as shadow work goes, I feel like the first, I don't know, three years of like this where I was like awakened in 2020, this like accelerated period that I've been having. I feel like the first couple of years, all I wanted to do is get out of my body. That's all I wanted. I started the whole thing in order to kind of get to some sort of place of peace, and I didn't realize that. I thought it was just like get rid of the migraines, get rid of the back pain or whatever with Reiki and but I was really seeking some sort of peace within myself because I had always felt this like inner turmoil. And yeah, so then I just, I discovered that I was that I, had galactic aspects. And I really had this kind of tendency to just try to get up and out of my body. And that's what I thought ascension was, raise your vibrations, get out of, float around and don't experience any more pain. And it's really not like that. So, gosh, I totally lost my thread. What what was your question?
Oh, no, no, not at all. Like what you've mentioned there, and this awakening. Now, this you've brought up an actually really good point
Hmm.
because when I awoke and delved into this journey and went into the quantum and blah blah blah, it's like I just didn't want to be human. I disconnected
Hmm.
from the human. I disconnected
Yeah.
from interacting with like society, and I went into
Yeah. You
this.
left it at a lower level. You're like, I don't want to be this anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
absolutely. But the universe steps in when this happens, okay? And this is something that I've also discovered. And you will be put on your ass. What do I mean by that? They will create something for you to step back into your body. And like it is with an awakening, it's like there's moments where you have a choice, like a tower moment will come in your life, and you have a choice to waking up and seeing the bigger perspective, and you'll keep going through life, blah blah blah, and then it'll just go like your kundalini awakening, right?
Hmm.
So you'll have that moment, and then you wake up to all that, blah, blah, blah. But then you don't want to be in your body. You don't want to be human anymore because you see beyond what actually is the reality, right? So you kind of
Right.
pull off and you disconnect. And then, the tower moment happens again, another tower moment where something will make you go, oh crap, I am actually human.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to do human stuff now. And then I realized that I was utter crap at doing human stuff, like utter crap. Like I am so bad at so many things that a normal, like what's a normal human? Like a human would be so good at doing. Like there's certain aspects of me that just chooses not to do human things. So it's
Hmm.
almost like I'm learning how to be human because I realized throughout my whole life I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be a human. So now I'm actually doing human things. I'm doing like it's like learning how to walk again, but you're learning how to be human again.
Well,
Uh,
you're learning how to embody this whole thing,
yeah.
instead of, I was working with a mentor earlier, what was it, last summer? And I ended up showing her a picture of myself from high school, and she was like, "Whoa, you were like 30% in your body in that photo." So I feel like most of us are like popping in and out of our bodies all the time because it is uncomfortable, and it is limiting, and it is painful. But that's part of the whole, I think that's one of the big points to being here is learning how to use your light body, learning how to master that, and learning how to embody it into your physical form. And yeah, instead of kind of escaping up into kind of this new age concept of what awakening is, we have to remember that we are human. Like this is our school right now. This is what we are for right now.
Mhm.
And we can embody those aspects. We can learn from our other aspects, like you were saying, you have connections to the dragons, you have connections to the galactics and the fae and everyone. We can gather information from our other aspects, but our job right now is to be here and learn how to be here.
And how to be human. That's
Yeah,
what we came here for. We came for the human experience. So,
exactly.
like, be human. Allow yourself to be human, but be a consciously aware human. So,
That's the trick.
yeah. So, how do you be a consciously aware human, Gina? Like, what's your perspective?
Dude, I am still figuring that one out. My perspective? Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, at all.
Um, I don't it's tricky. It really is because it's like this like bifurcation almost that I'm slowly integrating because you can be in your house in your meditation room under your pyramid and
Mhm.
vibrating to different frequencies, and then you have to get in your car and drive to the grocery store and it's just a completely different scenario, and you're like, all of a sudden you're all, "Wah, okay, well now I'm in 3D and I have to think about what I'm going to cook for dinner, and I don't want to look at this person, and I don't, you know what I mean? Like you have to figure out how to balance that, I guess. How to embody and understand that you are multidimensional and that you are interacting with all of these different energies all the time. It's not just in your meditation room while you're doing your guided meditations. It's all the time. And yeah, man, that's a big project for me. It
Mhm.
really is. So like I mentioned to you earlier, I got a job recently where I'm working in a group home with autistic adults in a foster care situation, and it's very challenging. It really is. Just, I mean, for anyone, for any like unconscious 3D whatever person doing a job like that, it's challenging. But keeping my heart chakra open during that time is immensely challenging. And it's not because of like what people do to me or this or that. It's just the whole situation, you get a feeling of like, are you safe? Are you secure? How can you be love in a situation like that when you're taking care of people who have profound uh developmental issues and emotional issues, like while people are like throwing glasses of juice at you and stuff, like
Mm,
how do you keep your heart chakra open? And it's it's a learning process. So I'm figuring it out though.
okay, beautiful. Because, like, being a conscious, aware human, um, has many layers to it. It's not just,
Yeah.
uh, so for me, a conscious, aware human is being so aware of your actions, being so aware of your choices, being so aware of the choices that you make will impact your reality in some way or form, and the intentions behind those choices and the intentions behind those actions. It's almost like, have you ever seen that film Lucy? You know, where you
No, but people keep talking about it. I should watch it.
very interesting. So it's like the more you work in your energy, the more you work in your consciousness, the more you do your healing, the more you connect to the self, the more you connect to the human self, the more you begin to see your skill sets, the more you begin to actually realize who you truly are, who your soul is on a huge soul consciousness level. And then you get to the stage where you are literally constantly aware of the energies around you, the people around you, like you were talking about, okay? Um, Understanding that the choices that they make and the decisions that they do are their own. There's not any of our
But
business.
they're also a mirror for us.
Yes,
It's
yes,
also the projection screen in front of you. So it's so interesting to
yeah.
trying to step, well, not trying, but actively stepping back and being the observer in that,
Mhm.
just keeping that awareness and not getting caught up in the moment of what's happening.
Yeah,
You're able to kind of step back and have this awareness that like this is for you to see and for you to learn for some reason. It's a mirror for you.
the mirror. Yeah, so I'm glad you've mentioned the mirror, because the mirror at this moment in time, through this whole conscious evolution of humanity, okay, what I feel and what I believe, what we're seeing in the world at this moment in time and with what's going on, it's almost like a mirror for us to observe,
Yeah.
but also to look at where we are as well on a soul growth, soul growth, no, soul growth and evolution experience.
Right.
And it's like, ah, it's like everything the choices that I make and the people that I interact with, it's like, okay, where's my intention? What's my choice with regards to this? What could the outcomes be? How's that gonna like affect my reality? And it's like being so consciously aware. If you'd asked me 4 years ago that I would be sitting in this space, like, it's not like analyzing, it's not like that at all. It's like you intuitively know what is right and what the choice is to make. And you have to feel that within your own intuition, and you have to feel, read the room as such, read the energy.
Hmm.
So you'll know whether you're observing or you're partaking in it, or, there's something there for you to take from it. And this is, with what's going on in the world at this moment in time, this is where I feel we read the room and we read the energy
Hmm.
with what's actually going on. And we just observe. We don't partake
Yeah,
in it. We don't feed into that. We don't feed into the energies as such.
exactly.
We just observe.
Well,
That's
and it's not, I feel like a lot of people, sorry if I interrupted, but I feel I've been talking to a lot of people on my podcast
Mhm.
that are very conscious, like very aware. And, they teach classes themselves and they are healers. And a lot of, there's so much fear. There's so much fear going on right now with what's going on in the US and what's going on in the world and all the conflict. And yeah, more than ever, I think we really need to step into neutrality and have that awareness that this is a mirror for us. Everything that happens in the collective is a mirror for what's happening on the inside, within yourself. We're seeing all of this conflict, all of this gender conflict and like race conflict and tribe conflict and all these separate groups who feel disconnected and are fighting because of whatever issue. It's all going on within ourselves and it all reflects within us as a collective, our sense of feeling disconnected. And yeah, I mean, I feel like just keeping that perspective is really important and not stepping into fear because what is that? What is that fear about? Is it really just about your fear of death, your fear of non-existence? I mean, if we know from, the deepest part of ourselves that we are immortal, that we are a fractal of source, that we always go on, why are we afraid? Like, what's the fear?
Mhm.
Other than a fear of death or a fear of, not existing anymore. And I feel like that really needs to get presenced because, like I said, I've been talking to a lot of people on my podcast who are very evolved and some people are very scared. I mean, myself included, I feel fear, of course. And so I have to look within myself to see why am I feeling this? Is it me, myself? Is it the collective that I'm tapping into? And also, like, why would I have a fear of death if I really trust the universe? If I really, really within myself know that I'm a part of source, like, why would I be afraid?
Mhm. Fascinating.
So I don't know.
Very beautifully put. And it's true, like, what is fear? What is fear? From my perspective and from, the things that I've experienced, I recognize that fear is the illusion. Fear is what we create within our own minds and our own heads because, there's not a form of control with that. We don't know, it's the unknown, really, isn't it? It's like we can't
Hmm.
control that. So therefore, we create this reality in our mind that it's much worse than what it actually is. So we get
Mm.
fearful of that, and in terms of death, some beautiful souls may be terrified of death because in their mind, when you die, that's it. That's it. Nothing happens. You don't go anywhere. That's no longer the existence of you.
Right.
So of course that would be scary because, you got one life and that person may perceive it that you've got one life and you've got to make the best of life, and if I don't make the best of life, I've failed within that life, and I've just wasted a life.
And that's where the lack comes in, right?
So there's many different, perspective. There's many different, when you look at many different things, like what is fear? Is it illusion? Is it fear of the unknown? Is it, control? Is it
I
lack?
think it's all of it.
Yeah, it's everything. Like it's absolutely everything. And you know, when you go through this journey, this is a question I want to ask you, Gina. Empaths. Um, sensitives, the labels that come with, those that maybe are a little bit more attuned to energy and frequencies than some others, okay?
Hmm.
They sometimes get labeled like the empath or the sensitives, or, for me, I was told I was too emotional. Oh, you're too emotional, blah, blah, blah. Um, I would attract certain people, certain experiences in my life, right? Now, there is word out there, and I've come across this many times, that empaths, okay, uh, seem to have tough lives, like hard experiences in lives, like because we choose that. Now, where am I going with this question? I don't know. Because we choose those experiences, right? So, what I'm trying to say here is there may be beautiful souls out there that are watching this that maybe don't even recognize that they're a sensitive, in they're an empath, in they've experienced a tough life, but they've never really actually connected the dots as such. So what would your advice be to anyone watching that maybe goes, oh, these two beautiful ladies are making a little bit of sense. It's almost like they're talking about my life, but I'm not experiencing anything that they've experienced. So what would your advice be to that person watching this here and now?
I would say it's a good choice point. It's a good time to make a choice. Like, if I had known that all of this would have opened up for me before getting the energy work with that one woman initially to, fix my migraines, if I would have known all of this would have happened, would I have done it? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Part of me is like, F yeah, of course, because it's opened up my world to all of this magic and all of this, like, just my life is awesome right now. I love it. But at the same time, it was a it was a ton of work. And the shadow work that I've done was, I'm not gonna lie, it sucked. Like, it was not fun. So much stuff to clear out, so much stuff to process.
Mhm.
And so it's a good choice point. Like, do you want to, I don't know, do you want to stay in your, do you want things to be comfortable? Like, you'll be kind of miserable on a certain level, but you'll be comfortable. Or
Mhm.
do you want to open up to this whole new world that is
Mhm.
waiting for you?
And it may
That's
be
what I would say.
you may have to tread through the shit in your ways, but you eventually
Exactly.
get through that.
It'll be worth it. I
Yeah,
mean, at least to
yeah,
me it was.
yeah.
But
Oh no, I would agree with you there. Like it feels when for myself, when I look back like 2020 up until this moment in time, when I look back, like you said, and ask, if I known what I know now and I was given that, would you go back and do it again? I would resoundingly say absolutely. I do it
mhm.
over and over again because when I woke up, I didn't know who I was. Like I was so disconnected from.
That and that in itself had like carries so much shame. That,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because that's like one of the things in society. You're supposed to be very independent. You're supposed to know what you want. You're supposed to know who you are. And when you finally cut the bullshit and you're like, I've never known who I was. I've never had a clue who I was. I was playing a role that I
Hmm.
was unconsciously playing. And now that that's gone, who the fuck am I? I don't know. I don't know what I am. I mean, supposedly I have an Arcturian aspect and this and that and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, who actually am I on the inside? And that takes guts. Like, that takes a lot of courage to admit. And it takes a lot of courage to kind of sift through and really start using your what is the word? I totally lost it. Using your intuition and using your sense of what's right and wrong for you.
Mhm.
Like that takes guts. It's easy to just go around, go with the flow with whatever your friends and your family think is right for you, but to actually like break free from that and really sit with yourself and start asking those questions, that takes a lot of courage.
Mhm.
So I guess, I mean, of course, I would do it over again because I love my life and I had like all of these experiences have been so magical and like,
Mhm.
I- who gets to say they've met Sasquatch people? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, like,
who
yeah.
gets to say that they've, like met their own galactic aspects. Like not many people at this point in time. So I feel like, yes, of course it's worth it, but you really do have to you have to do so much, there's so much inner work. There's so much inner work you have to do because that's what it takes. And that's what we're here for. But
Mhm.
there's a choice. You could just be asleep, just choose to take the easy way. And like you said, it might just wait, you might just get woken up, shooken, shooken.
Shake and bake,
You might
shake and
you might get shaken baked eventually, but yeah, I
That's
don't
what
know.
happened with me. It was like shake and bake time.
Yeah, it's shaken and I helped. Yeah.
But like
So
like you said, like although what we spoke about here and today maybe sound like, oh no, bugger that. I'm not doing that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
I don't want to do that. Oh my gosh. Ugh. I don't want to look at all that
It's like
the
not
gross aspects of myself.
yeah. But what I can say is like it's absolutely worth it because you know, you lose, it's not like you lose. It's almost like the illusion of that reality that you created falls behind and so much more opens up. You feel like you've
Hmm.
lost so much because like you'll disconnect from friends, you'll disconnect from relationships, you'll just disconnect from family and it feels really traumatic and feels like a lot of grief. But and you feel like you've lost everything, like your world's crumbling around you. But then when you keep going on this journey, you gain so much. You connect with who you really are. You start coming into a space where you accept yourself and allow yourself to be yourself. You come into a place where you truly love who you are. But not only do you truly love who you are, you connect with people who are so like-minded, that accept you for who you are, your warts and all, that doesn't mind you talking about beings and aliens and light ships and you know and I wouldn't like 6 months ago hadn't connected with you, Gina. Like I didn't know who you were six
Hmm.
months ago, and look at us now. Like we've connected and you feel like a sister, if you know what I mean. And like this is what this journey is. You begin to open up this other world, this other canvas of this beautiful reality, and beautiful souls will just come into your life because they're your soul tribe. They're
Hmm.
beautiful souls that you chose to walk this path and to walk this journey with. So for me, hell yeah, I would do this over and over and over again because, I've got this beautiful opportunity to connect with souls like yourself. And, I've got so many beautiful soul family all across the world. And I'm just so thankful and so grateful for that because 4 years ago, I didn't have that. 4 years ago, I didn't have those special connections. I didn't have, like, I didn't know who I was. Like, I really didn't know who I was. I was so miserable, I was so depressed, I was overweight, and it was poor me. And, there's still some aspects that, you work on. Um, like you're constantly working every day, but it gets easier as you work because you develop tools through
Yeah,
this journey, and the tools that you
exactly.
begin to put into practice, and it's like boom, now I get it. Like you see the higher perspective, it gets easier. And this is why, like, Gina's doing her podcast and I'm doing my podcast, and many other beautiful souls out there are doing their podcasts, because it's very important that, you know, people that have gone through these experiences and have gone through these awakenings and these journeys share their knowledge and their wisdom to help other souls out there that are maybe at that point at this moment in time where they're going through their tower moment, they're wakening up and they're going, what is happening with my world right now? It feels like my whole life is crumbling and shattering around me. So
Mhm.
this is why we do what we're doing. We're not doing this for, well, for me anyway. I can't speak for you, Gina, so maybe you want to talk about that. But for me, it's, you know, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I feel we're at that critical moment now that beautiful souls out there will need that help, will need that guidance.
Yes.
And
Yeah. Yeah. We're coming up on that real quick here.
mhm, mhm.
Um, well, what's the question? Why am I doing this? Why am I stepping out and putting myself out there? Um, my guides told me. They told me to. Honestly, I went kind of kicking and screaming. I Up until a few months ago, I was all about, I was still hiding. I was still running that hiding program. And so I was working with my mentor, and we had a session, and she was like, your guides, I have news for you. Your guides want you to start a YouTube channel. And I was like, fuck no. I'm sorry about swearing, but
Oh,
I
no,
was like,
no, no, no. You swear away, because the more authentic,
I,
the better.
I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. There's no way. There is absolutely no way I'm not doing that. I don't want to be, I mean, I'm coming around to the idea of being a healer. Like even just saying that when I was working with my buddy, it was like something, it felt like a stab in the gut for some reason. It felt like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. Other people can do that, but you can't.
Mhm.
And so I had a lot of shadow to work through as far as like accepting the fact that I am a healer, that I do have something to say, that I have wisdom and I have good advice and that I have guidance and people need to hear it. You know, some people, I guess, need, oh, there it is. There's that shadow. I guess need to hear it. Nope, some people need to hear it. But yeah, it was very uncomfortable at first. And I told my guides I wouldn't do it. And they said, we talked about this. This has been coming up for a long time. We talked about this many times and you need to do this. And I still was like, I really don't want to. Why should I? My wounded teenager came out pretty intensely. I was like, I don't want to do this. Why should I? And they got upset. They were like, how dare you? How dare you deny others of your wisdom and your healing? Because you have these gifts and you that would be a horrible thing to deny others of that. So get out there, put your big girl pants on, and
Suck
get a
it up.
webcam and start a channel. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So after a lot of shadow work, because it took so much to work through that negative self-image, to work through the low self-esteem, to work through the like worthlessness, the unworthy sort of all, and a lot of that is in your family lines, to be honest. Like a lot of that's not even yours. It's just like baked into the body, basically. Um, I had to do a ton of clearing with that, but eventually I felt comfortable enough to start a channel. And even while doing that, I didn't feel like I had anything to offer on my own. So I was like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? Baby steps. What can I do that I'll be honoring my guides and myself, but at the same time, I don't fully have to step out, you know, like
Yeah.
it was still this kind of like dance. And I thought, well, I could do interviews with people because I've always loved that idea. Like I love watching interviews, I love watching biographies. And so I was like, okay, that sounds great. I'll do that. And so I started doing these interviews with people, but it still felt pretty authentic, like inauthentic. It
Mhm.
was this like question answer, like I'll do research and I'll write down some questions and it'll just be this totally normal interview. And it just felt something felt weird about it. So I decided to just throw away the script and don't, I mean, maybe I will write down some questions in the future, but right now I'm just having fun talking to people.
Yeah.
And I've started doing more solo videos, just kind of
So,
speaking about my experiences and speaking about what I'm processing in the moment. And that feels really good. It feels really good to do that, which I didn't think it would. I thought it was going to be very painful and, oh, I'm going to be just ruminating on what to talk about. And it's like, no, just turn your camera on and just start talking and
mhm.
it'll work out.
Yeah.
So,
It just flows through you or organically flows through you. And
right?
like whenever you get that motion or that notion to just go and do it, with Starflower, I was just like, oh, I find it really difficult to talk, and if I just like, there's nobody watching, it's almost like singing with the lights turned off and nobody's,
Yes.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like another way to hide, you
it's
know?
another way to hide. So I was like, okay, I can do a podcast and I can speak about it. But then Spirit stepped in and was like, oh, no, 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 no. Like that, the podcast is for you to like use it as a platform, but to help others within that platform. So I invite other people on and talk about their experiences and their journey, and everything just flowed after that. Because it was like
Hmm.
I done one podcast and I was like, oh no, like now's not the right time and I don't feel it and I'm not feeling it and blah 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 and I'll just do it when it happens. And then literally since I've went, oh okay, everything has just flowed. It's just
Yeah.
flowed. Like it will flow. And it's the same as like it doesn't have to be scripted. You just go on and you just allow it to flow. Like none of this has been scripted today. Like we've just spoke and things will pop into my head and I'll speak it through with Gina and Gina will just speak whatever is coming out of, her mouth. Well, like whatever she's been guided to talk about. And this is how it works. And this is how, we learn and we grow and we evolve. But what I will say to everybody out there is obviously read the room, read the energy, use your own dissonance and use your own intuition. And if it feels right for you, wonderful, perfect. And if it doesn't feel right for you, it doesn't feel right for you. That's okay because maybe we're just at different levels of consciousness. And maybe, you're not ready or you're fully ready and you're further evolved. Like, who knows? Who knows? But what
Right.
I would say is read the room, read the energy, and just take what's resonant for you and make it your own. Just completely
Right.
make it your own. And that's the beautiful side of this. So, Gina, I think it's time to wrap up because we've been yapping away for.
Let's wrap it up.
So, before we go, any parting words of wisdom for anyone? Any parting words of wisdom?
Um, if you're feeling that pull towards learning about some of this stuff or learning more about yourself, I would just go with it. Just go with it. Just start exploring.
Mm-hmm.
Find out find out who you are, because it's so easy to hide and it's so easy to do what your family and your friends are doing and it's so easy to play it small. But if you feel any sort of pull towards this material, I mean, you're probably already pretty far along if you're watching Carrie's podcast. But yeah, if you're feeling the pull towards figuring out who you are, I would just do it. Just start somewhere. Start meditating
Do
or
something.
hold some crystals or just
Yeah.
just get out there and do some research.
So Gina has given me the links to her website and her YouTube channel, correct? Gina,
Yeah,
if anybody wants to connect with Gina and feels pulled to connect with Gina, the information will be in the description box. So go and have a wee look there so you can
yeah.
reach out to Gina and like if you're feeling really pulled, she can offer, those services as such. Is it like just healing services that you're offering, Gina, or
Well, I do, okay, so I have my own healing modality that kind of has its own intelligence, and I connect to your highest light, and we do a ton of work together, and it's really transformative. Not to like, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or anything, but with the people that I've worked with, I've seen some really dramatic results, and it's kind of blowing my mind. So, yeah, if you feel like you would like to do some energy work with me, you can email me. I have a link tree that you can book sessions on. And then also I have a podcast on YouTube where I do interviews with people who just in general are just amazing people and who have also had amazing experiences and who have incredible abilities. And they're just really, really thought-provoking, really awesome conversations that I'm having with these people. It's incredible. I'm so grateful that I started this channel. So if you'd like to watch some cool interviews, you can go on my podcast on YouTube. And yeah, that's that's that.
beautiful? And I'm so honored and so grateful that you've agreed to do this podcast with me too, Gina. Like I'm so, so
Yeah, it was really fun.
yeah, yeah, I absolutely love like doing these podcasts. Like I find it so much more better than, getting up in front of a camera and talk about me, 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 me. Like I love listening to other people's
Yeah,
journeys and other people's perspectives, and that's what makes it all
me too.
worthwhile. And your journey, like for me, was absolutely fascinating, and like what you've come through and where you've got to, and you're very big into the Sasquatch. So we're maybe or the Sasquatch. How do you say it, Gina? Sorry, forgive me. Sasquatch or Sasquatch?
Just Sasquatch people.
Sasquatch people, right? Okay. So, would you like to come back on and speak about that at some point?
Oh my gosh, I would love to. I have so many stories. I have some
Okay.
pretty great stories.
That would be epic. Like just like
Yeah,
a special episode, like talk about that. Um,
that would be really fun. I would love to do that.
Yeah, okay, perfect. We'll get that sorted for something sometime in the new year. Because like you're
Okay,
busy, but yeah, let's do that, please. That would be epic. That would be fun.
for sure.
So, with that being said, Gina, I'm gonna love you and leave you and let you go, like do what Gina does on a daily basis. And I'm gonna let everybody leave this conversation, do what you need to do.
All right.
Have a beautiful day, have a beautiful life, and until the next episode, I will speak to you all soon. Yeah?
All right. See you
All
later,
right.
guys.
See you later. Bye. Take care. Bye.